Support for the Klyph Notes podcast comes from Acapella Apparel, an idea born from a love of hip-hop, funk, and soul music and its surrounding cultures. With fashion being a huge visual part of the cultures, they've created expressive images to pay homage, invoke nostalgia, and showcase the elements that make up the lifestyle and cultures of these genres. Acapella, apparel for the music lifestyle. For more information, check out acapella.com. That's AKEPELE.com. She got DJ Klyph back at it again, man. Another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast. Once again, it's available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else. Big ups to my folk over at Acapella Apparel for their constant support of what we're doing, and then of course to X-Ray FM for being kind enough to allow me to record the podcasts here. So just want to encourage you to continue to subscribe and rate and comment and share, because that goes a long way in helping us do what we want to do. A couple things to keep you guys up on. We are getting ready to celebrate the second anniversary of Mic Check PDX that goes down at the McMenamin's White Eagle location, and we are, as we celebrate our second year or 2-year anniversary, we have an opportunity to switch some things up. So let you know we're going to be having an earlier start. Doors are going to actually be at 8 now, and the show will kick off at 9. And we have a pretty amazing lineup. Just confirmed today, my man Sir Severe is going to be on the bill. We have Win on the bill, Young Mill, Cubala. We're going to be adding a beat set segment to the event, and Trox is going to be the first producer to do the beat set. And of course, we have the addition of our DJ OG1. It's going to be a great night, man. 37 Limited is going to be sponsoring. So we're going to be doing giveaways and all kinds of fun stuff. So check it out. Check out the website, www.miccheckpdx.com. And then just stay connected, man. DJ Klyph all over social media. I'll keep you guys up on other events that are going on that you might want to be involved in, like the Gift of Gab show that's coming with my man Versatile and Sleek, July the 14th at the Paris Theater. And then, of course, Slum Village is going to be at the Star Theater in July on the 4th. So all kinds of stuff, man, you should be aware of, just in case you're not. And of course, you can catch me every Saturday night on X-Ray FM. Welcome to the neighborhood, 8 to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You know, just bring you the good stuff, man. So really excited for this interview, man. This one's really cool, man. You definitely have to lock this one in and keep it on replay, because there's gonna be a ton of information. But really excited for you guys to check out some of the things that have been happening really for the last year here in Portland for local music, local artists. Okay, enough for me. I'll let you introduce who you are.
I'm Meara McLaughlin, and I'm director of Music Portland, which is a new trade association advocacy group that for the first time is trying to assemble the music community, all parts of it in the city, and really finally leverage the strength that we have in numbers and reconnect us in a way that some of the trends in the city have started to break apart. I think we used to be a lot more connected. Yeah. And now people are just trying to pay their rent, and it's hard.
No doubt. Well, to take it back a little bit, it's definitely cool to have you here. You and I first met at an X-Ray event. Mm-hmm. It might have been an X-Ray anniversary. It was an X-Ray event at any rate, and had an opportunity to meet you when you sort of began to share the vision, and to be a part of it, even on the periphery, has been pretty exciting. Yeah. And then to see it continue to grow and blossom into where it is now, even more so exciting. But just for the average listener, if you were to give, another little snapshot. Somebody says, okay, I keep hearing about this Music Portland thing, like specifically, what is it?
We are an association, a representative association of the music industry in Portland that includes everything from musicians of every genre to music and gear manufacturers to producers and recording studios and venues, and ultimately the fan base, but really for the first time trying to bring together all of those different entities and acknowledge that we are a community and that without collective, strategic, and integrated action, we're all going to get crushed under the wheel of a growing city. I tortured my family for years because every time I'd get a couple of cocktails in me, I would start ranting that Nashville is Music City because some biscuit company in the 20s said, oh, live from Music City. And Nashville said, that's a good idea. Yeah. It's about identifying something and being intentional about it. And Portland has created this incredibly rich music ecosystem and cultural asset, but it's all been DIY, which is part of its glory. Yeah. I mean, part of what's amazing about it, I had some friend that I loved this phrase when I was talking about the fact that, Austin is tied to sort of roots music and Nashville is kind of bound by country and, it's having this defining genre. She said, Portland is genre fluid, which is great because so many of the cool things that happen are, this artist from this genre connects with this artist from this other genre, and they make something that is wholly new and remarkable. And that kind of creativity is what we want to celebrate and amplify, both to the local population, to city government, to different funding sources that need to be investing in this because they're making bank on it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I can remember when I first began to meet local artists, local musicians, and especially hosting folk on the radio show. And I would ask, what is the Portland sound? Because I'm not originally from Portland. And so one of the interesting things, and different people sort of have different perspectives, and I think from an artistic standpoint, people will sometimes associate the sound with maybe an artist who's had a little bit broader reach. But there's also that idea, that concept that Portland has adopted the sounds of different areas just because of the influx of people growing the population in this area, which is one of the things that definitely can be celebrated. I think when it comes to my primary audience, which is hip hop, this idea, this concept of bringing together is very, very exciting because there hasn't been as much of that. Now, recently, there's been more of it. We've definitely seen more of it recently. We've seen the city of Portland embrace hip-hop in the sense of having Hip-Hop Day. We've seen, even though we've seen a lot of venues close, we have seen some bigger groups like McMinimans open their arms to hip-hop. But Meara, how do we, because of maybe the things that have happened in the past in the city in relationship to hip-hop, how do we ensure folk that what Music Portland is truly about providing opportunities for everyone, every genre. It's not we just want to get you in here so that we can make it look like we're inclusive.
Right.
But it is real. It really is.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think hip hop, more than any of the other genres in Portland, they are perfectly within their rights to say, "Don't tell me, prove it."
Yeah.
And I think the fact that as an organization trying to be representative of all groups, it is, we need to acknowledge that certain groups have a different history and have to work that much harder to make sure not only that we're including them, but we're not just looking for head count. We are looking for voices.
Yeah.
We want to understand, as a representative organization, what do you need? How can we help? We are a facilitating body. And the good news is, as you say, City Hall has said, awesome, we want to support music, but who would we talk to?
Yeah.
It's never had any kind of solidarity or access point, so that they're really, they haven't done anything, admittedly, but part of it is shame on us. Part of it is the music industry as a whole not saying, we need to stand up, make our needs known, and then pursue them.
Yeah.
And so, I think with the hip hop community, it's absolutely key. It's key for the Latin community. It's key. There are a lot of different musical enclaves that have been successful despite a lack of public support and despite a lack of supportive policy and despite a lack of sort of city acknowledgement that this vitality is here. I've got a friend who works in theater and he goes to New York and he said, here's the challenge. In New York, a ditch digger that has never set foot in a Broadway theater still has as part of his sort of sense of place and pride of citizenship that he lives in the biggest theater city in the world.
Yeah.
I want every person in Portland, whether they go to shows, whether they are listening to local music, I want them to brag to people that they are lucky enough to live in a city that has this kind of potency.
Yeah.
Because it has it. It just needs to gather itself together and stand up together. And unlike certain actions that have happened in Austin and other places where they really did try to say, okay, we need to get our act together and do something, I think that what they were aiming for were some big economic impacts. And we want positive economic impacts,
Right.
but I think that they lost a lot in the process of doing that. I think that what distinguishes Portland is its independent spirit. It's absolutely key that everything that Music Portland does is supporting that variability and the kind of, the audio iconoclasts that are out there just like making entirely new sounds and that are willing to take a chance. We want to make sure it stays supportive. Music Portland's motto that is carried with every single mention of Music Portland is that we aspire to be independent together. That's the difference, is that being independent is awesome and we want to support it. But if we don't gather together, nobody's going to survive and succeed.
That definitely is powerful, because I think that oftentimes the idea of not wanting someone else to control what I'm doing is the thing that's driven a lot of artists to become independent, totally independent, and to certain degrees have had successes, but then at the same time have had limitations because whether it just be a lack of reach, a lack of resources, or a lack of knowledge. And it sounds like those are some of the things that Music Portland hopes to provide.
Absolutely. And now if you are a performer and you're going on tour and you've got a poster, if you stick a little Music Portland tag on there, or in any way you like, reference the fact that you're from Portland. Let's start to get some collective branding, because I've heard from tons of people that say, I don't know that band, but they're from Portland. I'm going to go check them out.
Yeah.
Like, we should have some collective benefit for being together and for being from a place that is celebrated for its individualism and its unique sounds. So really key to do that. Our 4 pillars for the organization are to assess. We're doing a musician survey, an audience survey, and an economic impact study of the businesses, because having quantified data means we can talk about what's going on. The other assessment activity is our gatherings that we'll talk more about, but it's about really getting direct, clear input from what musicians need, what the businesses need, what the venues need, and then making sure that we're getting the crosstalk so that musicians are talking to the venues, and we're gathering up all of these interesting approaches that have been successful in other cities. There isn't just one way to do this. And we know that we need to support musicians, to support venues. It's an interdependency. And I think too often people start to feel like, they're just going to do it their way and they're out to get me. And when you're, struggling to pay your rent and do your stuff and make your art, I understand how you can get there.
Yeah.
But if you dwell in that, you don't make any changes. Standing up together and realizing the kind of power that this community can have to really change and affect the way that things happen, I think is really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt. You mentioned the survey. I think that was one of the, where I sort of came in to know Music Portland was when the surveys were, some of the surveys were beginning. Is that something that's still happening, or where people can still access that?
They can. We are on the cusp. We are in about within 2 weeks of having our new website out. That new website will have other questions, have a much broader description of all the different programs that we already have kind of moving forward on, and then lots of placeholders waiting for the voices of the community to tell us what they need. But right now, musicportland.org still has the census, which is the original census that I think was posted originally almost 2 years ago. Yeah. It is still worthwhile for people to go in and answer those very limited number of questions. And they're very qualitative. What do you love about it here? What do you not love? Yeah. The new questions are much more quantified. And they're really starting to dig in a totally confidential way. You know, how profitable is it? I use profitable with finger quotes, right. You know, to make music in Portland. If we don't benchmark that, we can't know if we're getting better or worse. Yeah. You know, it's, do they have day jobs? You know, kind of what industries are they supporting? Because that's an indirect economic impact on the city to know you've got all of these phenomenal human beings who are doing whatever they do during the day so they can make their music at night. Right. You know, those are all questions that we have to connect the dots on. Yeah. So within about 2 weeks, we're going to have the new website up. Musicians, to become a member of Music Portland, they just have to fill out that survey. There is no cost to musicians. We represent them. Yeah. Businesses pay a small member fee, but the goal is to get as many musicians as possible involved, participating in the conversation, leading conversations, finding things that need to be done, and with Music Portland support, chasing after them.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And again, just exciting to know that there's assistance there. There's people that can help kind of do the legwork. And I mentioned off air, I've learned just on my time on this planet that sometimes you simply don't know what you don't know. So to have people there, different levels of experience can maybe open ideas and eyes to things that, wow, I didn't know that existed. And now that I know, I see how that can really help me on this path that I'm on. Yeah. So with with a lot of this information and the ideas that, okay, this is something that exists, obviously comes a lot of questions that, I know that there will be opportunities for people to ask, and not just via social media, not just via email. I know, although those would be opportunities, but to actually to sit in a room together and talk about, okay, this is a question that I have based on my personal experience or based on where I am on my journey. And there's going to be some opportunities to do that, to get in a room and do something like that. Yeah. So you mentioned that a little bit. Talk more about the gatherings.
We are putting together gatherings of all the different sectors. We thought about sort of launching Music Portland with a big event, but I think the noise would overwhelm the message. We want to be listening, and we want to make sure people know what we are, who we are. We're a grassroots organization made up of people from the industry. Yeah. And we want to hear from every musician who is, in their own right, an entrepreneur. And so this is an economic development agenda. We want to grow the economics for everyone. So the gatherings really are, first, it's not going to be a big everybody in kind of a gathering. It's going to be very focused. So we're going to have, gatherings of music manufacturers. We're going to have gatherings of record labels, and gathering of recording engineers, and gatherings of venues, and gatherings of musical genre communities. And the goal is to make sure that we are hearing from the specific genres and these industry sectors, what are the issues for them? What are the things that are challenging for them? And also to give them some examples of some kind of interesting new ways of solving problems that we've seen in other cities across the country and around the world. Because we're not working in a vacuum here. There are some great pioneers out there that have changed the way that things work. Yeah. But it's very much a conversation and a whole lot of listening. So we're hoping with the hip-hop community, we absolutely want to gather up as many of them as possible, get their information down so that we understand what are the top issues, and really help us to focus our lens on the things that will support them that may be different from what other genres need. Yeah. But in addition to creating, and sort of growing that sense of community within that genre, our goal is to make sure that each genre of musicians understands that they are connected to each other and they are connected to every musician in the city. There are things to learn, there are collaborations to be had, there are economic development initiatives to seek out together. I want everybody to, not to stop if possible, or give them an easier way to stop worrying about their rent or worrying about, those things. Give them an accessible way to say, I am part of a larger community and I'm connected to the microphone makers and the amplifier builders and the recording studios, whether or not I ever use them, because we are part of a Portland music community. And I think creating that sense of connection and making connections easier to do. I think having access to different people, knowing, say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm a member of Music Portland, you're a member of Music Portland. That gives you cred, An association is based on the word associate. And that, I think, at its core is the point. And then that association creates collective power. And we want to make sure that the people in this community have that power.
That's what's up. And I mean, I love that. I love that, you're letting folk know that there are going to be different needs for different genres of music. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Whether that be because of, there are going to be certain artists in the hip hop community who are just going to need to have access to space for an MC and a DJ versus, an orchestra. But like you said, all together. And we all know that many hands make light work. So I think that's really, really cool. So one of the things that you and I have been talking about is, how do we do that? How do we put together a gathering? How do we let folk know why we're coming together and gauge the interest and pique the interest of folk who would benefit from this process? So at this stage, I just want to encourage everyone out there that's listening to respond even to that. Know that we want to put something together. We're working on it. It's going to happen, but we want to hear from you in terms of location. Where should we get together? So you know how to hit me, DJ Klyph, all over the place, or you can hit me on the email, klyph@djklyph.com, and all of my people who are part of my networks. I'm looking for folk to stand up, because this is something that I'm pretty excited about, as I keep saying, because I am, and I think that if we come together, I think that there's a lot of great things that we can do. Action wise, what more can we tell people to do in terms of coming together and getting the word out?
Well, right now, if they go to musicportland.org and fill out the census, it's there. That will get their name into the mix. And definitely want people to spread the word that this is happening, and that we cannot do it without y'all. I mean, it's that is, we have to have the people we're representing really engaged. And if there are people who find this message particularly intriguing and maybe are like, this is great, how can I help? Definitely be in touch with me. Because my name is hard to spell, I'll say info@musicportland.org, and I'll get that as well. Write me a note and say, hey, I want to get involved, I want to help. Musicians are hard to find, and it's entirely based on the sort of viral spreading of the word. So this podcast and the social media outreach and all of you talking about it. And, push back. If you say, no, it's not going to work, we want to hear it. If you say, I've got a great idea, we want to hear it. And I think having a gathering where we can really get all those ideas up on a board and discuss them, we can distill them into actionable things that can make real change. We're looking at a couple of different places for this gathering, but I would love any suggestion. I mean, if we could get 50 to 100 people gathering together and really focusing on this stuff, I think we can really make something happen. So
it's exciting. It's definitely exciting. It's in some of the conversations that you and I have had, it's been interesting to really take a step back and look at everything that's here in Portland. As you mentioned, there's so much industry here. It's ridiculous. My focus is, for the most part, been on the art and the artists, but mean, whatever you need, you can get right here from Portland. You don't have to go outside of Portland. If you want to get, records manufactured, you got Cascade record pressing, right? If you want to get, like you mentioned, if you want to get amps built, if you want to go on tour, there's opportunities for folks to support that. We mentioned microphones. If you want to get microphones for your situation, you can, everything that you would need is right here in Portland. But sometimes we either forget or don't recognize that because we're so focused in on the art that we're making.
Well, and actually, I think a lot of the business communities are even less connected than some of the music communities. My husband has a microphone company called Ear Trumpet Labs, and we'll drive around town and he'll rubberneck suddenly and say, "Oh my God, that pedal company is here? I had no idea. I love their stuff." Yeah. And because that nobody, they all kind of work in isolation. And now that you've got online sales, they might be selling all over the world, but they don't know the person who they actually need to connect with in order to defend their business. Yeah. So I think what's going to be exciting, one of the things we're talking with manufacturers to do is to set up a Portland backline. And so everything, every cable, every cymbal, every mic, every amp, every monitor, every preamp, everything manufactured in Portland. And there are cities far larger than us that couldn't begin to do that. So it's really exciting to start to look, and every musician should have that ditch digger's pride that says, damn, I live in a city that makes incredible gear, that creates incredible sounds, that does incredible production work, and is a creative, hotbed. Yeah. So I think, everybody should feel amped up by this because we are independent together and we're awesome.
Yeah, no doubt. I had an opportunity, once again, shout out to The Future of What, I had an opportunity to hear that episode where your husband spoke about Ear Trumpet Labs and sort of its beginnings and where it is now, and like really, really cool, like really impressive, the work that that's happening, the reach that Ear Trumpet has. So that was a really exciting story. And then once again, before we turn the mics on, you mentioned someone that I think my audience is very familiar with who uses Ear Trumpet Labs.
Oh yeah, I mean there's Chance the Rapper and Andra Day and Elvis Costello and Jason Mraz and all of these incredible musicians who have found him. He is not a marketing genius. Yeah. Sorry, honey. But I think it is because of this commitment to doing things differently, being creative, and being independent that has really fueled his business. And that is what Portland is known for. And it's across the board. So it is really exciting to try and bring all this stuff together and bring it out.
And there again, I think, like you said, how cool would it be to have an opportunity maybe to for an artist to go on tour from Portland, and like you said, while they're in North Carolina or while they're in London, see the Music Portland logo there in that city and be able to make that connection that way.
Yeah.
I've talked to people through the years about, when you think of Portland traditionally, there's some pretty big industry here. Obviously, everybody thinks about Nike. Adidas has a big footprint here. Columbia is here. I mean, those are just some of the big ones. Intel, and you wonder with that much, with businesses of that are international like that, is there any way to educate them to support what's here, what's homegrown? Do you think that can ever happen?
Oh, absolutely, and that's a big part of the Music Portland agenda. Popular music in Portland as a project, we absolutely do not want to cannibalize any existing arts funding, because frankly, the traditional arts funding is already being tapped righteously, I think, by homelessness and hunger and things like that, and they're all kind of in there scrapping for the same philanthropic impulse. I think that popular music has a different opportunity, and it's exactly around those corporations. It's amazing the number of big corporations that have moved into Portland, some of them from Lake Oswego and from Hillsboro, because Hillsboro, Oregon doesn't mean anything to somebody saying, I could go work at this company or this company, Hillsboro, Oregon. I hear Portland's cool, but I don't know where Hillsboro is.
Right.
So they're moving their headquarters into the city, and I've already talked to many of them who have confirmed it's because we've got great environment and great food and this hot music culture. Yeah. So they've already connected sort of intuitively that value.
Yeah.
We're doing an audience survey of employees of the largest employers in Portland to connect the dots and give them some numbers.
Yeah.
But I talked to 4 companies and said, we want to do this survey to help you understand that supporting music is an employee benefit. It'll help you attract and retain talent in a very competitive market. And 2 out of the 4 said, we don't need a survey. We totally know it now.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that there are really great opportunities. And once you're working with those corporations, it's about getting musicians paid gigs at those corporations.
Yeah.
So that they are in there. They're growing their audience. They're building fan base. And they're giving the corporation something at the same time, because the corporation, every newsletter is like, look how cool we are.
Right.
Look what we've got.
Right.
So I think it's a really good kind of connection and acknowledgement of something that's already happening, but they didn't have any way to formalize it.
Right.
So again, I saw all these things going on and, would rant, and finally just said, I'm going to walk away from my 30-year technology career and do this, because somebody's got to be in the middle connecting these dots, because they're all there.
Yeah.
And people at Music City conferences say, oh my God, I would love to be Portland. I mean, you've got so much of the stuff we're trying to build, we already have. We already have 100 music manufacturers. We already have 75 recording studios. We already have 70 record labels. We already have a bazillion bands. More than 200 shows are listed in the Mercury week after week after week. And each one of them has, 2 or 3 performers. Or 2 or 3 bands. So you're looking at maybe 1,000 musicians plus local musicians performing in Portland every week. Week after week after week after. There are tens of thousands of performing musicians. Let's get us all together, because that is power. I mean, that can change the cityscape. Yeah. And we got to exercise that power.
Yeah. So this is one of those things where I think it's cool to, it will be cool to utilize social media, liking, following, adding, sharing, for sure. I think that can go a long way. But this is a situation where it's really about taking that next step and saying, okay, I hear you. I'm interested. I see the benefits to myself, but I also see the benefits to my community. I want to get involved. And as we said, one of the most tangible ways that you can get involved is to look for one of the gatherings as the information comes out as to when it's going to be, and understand that this is an opportunity to grow community, to ask questions, to get questions answered, to offer to be involved in in a greater way. So again, want to encourage everybody out there to stay connected, continue to look for information, but then to actively participate, so that we won't try to say we're music. We will say we're music Portland. We're not going to say we're the music capital or what somebody else is saying. We're Music Portland, for real. For real.
Yeah, we are Music Portland, and we're independent together. And the best action everyone can take is to go to musicportland.org, and whether it's the census or whether it's the new site, which will be shortly, just make sure you go in there, fill out the information for yourself. That will make sure that you hear about all kinds of gatherings. DJ OG1 is on our board, and we were having this conversation about, okay, where do you put DJs? Because they're not genre. You've got DJs doing all kinds of stuff and talk about genre fluid.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we get DJs in there too. And then, we can make sure that they hear about all the different genre gatherings, because they may say, I want to go to this one and that one.
Right.
And that's okay. I mean, just be there, be a part of it, and maybe DJs are going to be the emissary, because they're already the ones that are seeing the larger lens, and understanding that, we're not different.
Yeah.
We're a big group
Yeah.
with some different needs.
That's really, really exciting. And once again, I love the inclusivity, because I think we're so used to exclusivity, not just in Portland, but I think just, as a species. And so it's exciting to know that someone is passionate about really bringing the city, the arts portion of the city together, with the artists, as well as those who support the arts. And now it's really it's an exciting time to do it. I mean, we see how the population is just exploding right now. So you have people coming into the city from not just the outskirts of the city, but from other states. I mean, I'm a transplant.
It's something like 160 people a day are moving
crazy.
to Portland. It's
crazy.
nuts.
Yeah.
So how do we loop them in and have them arrive going, okay, so where are the best restaurants? And I got to see some music.
Right.
Let's get them engaged right away. We do that by standing together.
That's what's up. Musicportland.org is the website. Continue to check it out, because there's going to be some new things coming up. Meara, anything else that we want to let folk know about?
I can't wait to meet y'all.
It's going to be really, really cool, man. Like I said, everybody in my network, I'm gonna be looking for feedback from you, and I will let folk know when we get a date and time and place locked down. So whether it be the podcast, the radio show, or any of the other networks that I have, we'll let you folk know.
And we're hoping July.
Okay.
Yeah. We want this community talking fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to it fast.
That's what's up. Man, I so appreciate you coming through, man. Just excited for this. Excited for what's happening.
You can tell I sort of vibrate.
Yes.
I'm waggling my hands, but they can't see it.
She
Good.
truly is. So once again, man, thanks to Meara. Check out Music Portland. Tell people about it. Tell people in your network, whether they're musicians and artists, or whether they just love the music scene and want to find ways to support. Let them know that this is definitely a way that they can do that. Again, the Klyph Notes podcast is available everywhere you listen to your podcast. So comment, rate, and share. Get the word out. Let's just continue to do what we do. Once again, big ups to my man, Theory Has It, for the theme to the Klyph Notes podcast. Shout out to my folk at Acapella Apparel, and of course, X-Ray FM for their constant support. Man, let's just continue to build. Check me out. DJKlyph.com is the website, and all over social media at DJ Klyph. Be sure to check out Music Portland. There's some social out there that will continue to grow. So check out Music Portland on Twitter, I know for sure, and I think Instagram,
and
Facebook.
Some limited Instagram.
Okay,
but we're getting it together.
Exactly, man. Many hands, light work. Meara, once again, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
All right, y'all. God bless you. Until we get an opportunity to do this again, peace.